9 Golden Age guests Johnny Carson refused to invite again. Sounds shocking, right? Johnny Carson, the legendary host of The Tonight Show, entertained millions over 3 decades, welcoming countless celebrities, from Hollywood icons to rising stars. But not every guest left with his approval. Some appearances ended so awkwardly or stirred so much behind-the-scenes tension that Johnny reportedly never invited these stars back. These weren't just any guests, they were some of the biggest names of the golden age of television. Over-the-top performances, personality clashes, controversial interviews, and unexpected awkward moments made these appearances unforgettable, but for all the wrong reasons. In this video, we'll explore the stories of 9 unforgettable guests whose visits tested even Johnny Carson's legendary patience. You'll discover who they were, why Carson refused to have them back, and the behind-the-scenes drama most viewers never saw. Get ready to uncover the shocking truth behind the stars Johnny Carson simply would not welcome back, and see why fame and talent didn't always guarantee a second chance on The Tonight Show. Asterisk. Rich Little, the master of impressions. Rich Little, often called the master of celebrity impressions, was one of the most talented performers of the golden age of television. His ability to personalities of famous stars, from Frank Sinatra and Cary Grant to even Johnny Carson himself, was so remarkable that audiences were mesmerized every time he appeared on The Tonight Show. Viewers laughed, applauded, and marveled at his uncanny accuracy, making him one of the most entertaining guests Johnny Carson ever had. However, behind the bright lights and roaring applause, the story was not entirely smooth. Johnny Carson, a perfectionist known for his sharp timing and control over the show's flow, reportedly grew frustrated with Rich Little's performances over time. While the audience adored his impressions, Johnny felt that Rich's over-the-top mimicry sometimes overshadowed the show itself. It wasn't just about talent, it was about timing, balance, and preserving the magic of The Tonight Show's stage. The dynamic between the host and the guest, though cordial on camera, was complex behind the scenes. Carson was a man who valued subtlety, wit, and maintaining control over his legendary program, and even the most skilled performers had to navigate that carefully. Despite Rich Little's immense popularity, his eventual fate on the show reflects the delicate boundaries that existed in late-night television. He became one of the few Golden Age guests Johnny Carson reportedly refused to invite back, a surprising fact given his talent and the laughter he brought to millions. Yet, this decision highlights the exacting standards Carson upheld and the pressure every guest faced to not only entertain but also complement the rhythm of The Tonight Show. Today, Rich Little's appearances remain iconic, a blend of hilarity, brilliance, and a hint of tension, offering fans a rare glimpse into the careful balance of talent and personality on one of television's most beloved stages. Burt Reynolds, the charismatic rebel. Burt Reynolds, one of Hollywood's most charismatic and magnetic stars of the 1970s, was known for his charm, wit, and effortless humor. He could light up any stage, captivate millions of fans, and turn even a casual appearance into an unforgettable moment. His episodes on The Tonight Show were often lively, filled with laughter, and highlighted the playful banter he shared with Johnny Carson. Audiences loved his energy, his stories, and the sense of fun he brought to late-night television. Yet behind the cameras, not everything was smooth sailing. Reports suggest that Burt Reynolds and Johnny Carson had subtle, but significant, tensions. While both were professionals, differences in personality, timing, and humor occasionally clashed. Reynolds, confident and outspoken, sometimes pushed the envelope with jokes, comments, or stories that Johnny felt crossed an invisible line. Carson, a master of control and timing, maintained strict standards for the pacing and tone of his legendary show. Even a star as beloved as Burt Reynolds had to fit into the rhythm and balance Carson meticulously curated. Over time, these behind-the-scenes tensions reportedly contributed to Carson's decision not to invite Reynolds back. It wasn't a public feud or a scandal, but a quiet, professional judgment made by a host who valued the integrity of his show above all. Burt Reynolds, despite his enormous talent and charisma, became part of a rare group of Golden Age guests who, for one reason or another, never returned. His appearances remain memorable, filled with laughter and energy, yet they also hint at the subtle pressures and expectations of one of television's most iconic stages. This story reminds us that even the brightest stars had to navigate Johnny Carson's exacting standards, and fame alone didn't guarantee a second chance on The Tonight Show. Joan Rivers, the fallen favorite. Joan Rivers, once a rising star of comedy and fashion commentary, was initially a favorite on The Tonight Show. Her sharp wit, fearless humor, and undeniable charisma made her a standout guest, capable of keeping Johnny Carson on his toes while entertaining millions of viewers at home. Audiences loved her energy and boldness, and many considered her appearances some of the most memorable moments on the show. However, behind the scenes, Joan's career decisions and ambition caused a rift with Carson. When Rivers decided to pursue her own talk show and compete in the late-night space, Carson reportedly felt betrayed. The professional relationship that once thrived on mutual respect and humor quickly became strained. What made Joan Rivers' story unique was that her falling out wasn't about a single awkward moment or a joke gone wrong, it was about perceived competition and loyalty. In Carson's eyes, inviting her back could have sent the wrong message to the show's team and audience. As a result, Joan Rivers joined the small group of Golden Age guests Johnny Carson refused to welcome back. Despite her undeniable talent and popularity, her ambition to carve her own path created a boundary Carson wasn't willing to cross. Today, her appearances remain iconic, filled with laughs and fearless commentary, but the story behind her refusal to return serves as a reminder of the delicate balance of trust, respect, and ambition in the high-stakes world of late-night television. Even the brightest and boldest stars sometimes faced limits under Carson's careful watch. Lola Falana, the sultry star. Lola Falana, often called the Queen of Las Vegas, brought glamour, dance, and sultry performances to The Tonight Show. Known for her charisma, extraordinary talent, and captivating stage presence, she enchanted both the audience and Johnny Carson during her appearances. With each dance, song, or performance, Falana proved why she was one of the most beloved entertainers of her time. Her elegance and energy lit up the stage, making every episode memorable. Yet, despite her incredible talent, not every appearance went smoothly behind the scenes. Reports suggest that certain performances, or perhaps creative differences in how she presented herself, rubbed Carson the wrong way. Johnny was a perfectionist, always attuned to timing, pacing, and maintaining a specific flow on his show. Even the most dazzling performances could disrupt that rhythm if they seemed too over the top or didn't fit the tone of the episode. As a result, Lola Falana reportedly became one of the rare guests Johnny Carson refused to invite back. Her story highlights the pressures and standards of late-night television, where even immense talent had to align with the host's vision. Today, her appearances remain celebrated for their beauty, energy, and stage presence, but they also carry a behind-the-scenes lesson. In the golden age of television, charisma alone didn't always guarantee repeat invitations, and even stars as radiant as Lola Falana had to navigate the exacting expectations of one of TV's most legendary hosts. Don Rickles, the insult comic. Don Rickles, famously known as the Merchant of Venom, was one of the most legendary insult comics of the golden age. His quick wit, fearless humor, and razor-sharp comebacks made him an unforgettable guest on The Tonight Show. Audiences loved watching Rickles banter with celebrities, delivering biting jokes that kept everyone laughing, sometimes nervously, sometimes hysterically. His appearances were unpredictable, filled with laughter, surprise, and tension, which made him a must-watch whenever he was on stage. However, Don Rickles' bold style sometimes clashed with Johnny Carson's meticulous control over the show. While Carson appreciated comedy and spontaneity, there were moments when Rickles' jabs went too far or disrupted the carefully crafted flow of the program. Behind the scenes, tensions occasionally arose as Carson tried to balance humor with timing, and Rickles' fearless antics tested those boundaries. The dynamic was not about dislike but about maintaining the integrity and rhythm of The Tonight Show. Eventually, Rickles became part of the small group of Golden Age guests Johnny Carson reportedly refused to invite back, a testament to how even the most talented, loved, and entertaining stars had to navigate the subtle expectations of television's late-night king. Today, Rickles' appearances remain legendary, showcasing humor, daring, and spontaneity, but also reminding fans that even the funniest stars were not immune to Carson's high standards and careful control of his iconic stage. George Gobel, the awkward comedian. George Gobel, known for his unique, slightly awkward comedic style, was a frequent guest during the golden age of television. His charm was subtle, often understated, and relied heavily on timing, delivery, and his signature deadpan humor. While audiences appreciated his wit and the gentle humor he brought to The Tonight Show, behind the scenes, George's style occasionally clashed with Johnny Carson's expectations for pacing and stage presence. Carson, a master of timing and show flow, reportedly found certain aspects of Gobel's performances difficult to manage. His slow, awkward delivery, though beloved by many viewers, sometimes disrupted the rhythm Carson carefully maintained during his live broadcasts. While not a personal conflict, these differences created tension in their professional dynamic. Over time, this contributed to Gobel being one of the rare Golden Age guests Johnny reportedly chose not to invite back. George Gobel's appearances remain memorable for their warmth, humor, and distinctive style. Yet, they also highlight a key truth about late-night television: even a talented and respected comedian had to navigate the exacting standards of one of television's most legendary hosts. Gobel's story reminds us that charisma, skill, and popularity did not always guarantee repeat invitations, and even the most understated comedy could challenge the boundaries of Carson's controlled, precise stage. Flip Wilson, the fan favorite. Flip Wilson, the charismatic and beloved comedian, brought energy, laughter, and memorable characters to The Tonight Show. Famous for his impeccable timing and ability to create instantly recognizable personas, Flip was a hit with audiences nationwide. Every appearance was a showcase of humor, creativity, and the type of charisma that made late-night television a cultural phenomenon. Fans loved his wit, his banter with Johnny Carson, and the unforgettable moments he created on stage. However, despite his popularity, reports suggest that creative differences and subtle behind-the-scenes tensions eventually affected his appearances. While Flip's humor was bold and engaging, there were moments when the balance of the show or the flow of interaction with Carson became challenging. Late-night television required a delicate harmony between host and guest, and even the most skilled performers sometimes disrupted that rhythm. As a result, Flip Wilson reportedly became part of the small group of Golden Age stars Johnny Carson chose not to invite back. Today, Flip Wilson's appearances are remembered as iconic, full of laughter, cleverness, and charm. But his story also highlights a recurring theme of The Tonight Show: fame, talent, and audience love were important, yet they did not always guarantee repeat invitations. Even the most celebrated and talented guests had to meet Carson's high standards, and Flip Wilson's legacy remains both a celebration of his genius and a reminder of the exacting expectations of late-night television's greatest host. Tony Randall, the serious actor. Tony Randall, best known for his sophisticated roles and impeccable comedic timing, was a frequent guest during the golden age of television. Renowned for his elegance, intellect, and polished persona, Randall brought a different kind of charm to The Tonight Show, one that was refined, thoughtful, and often more theatrical than other guests. Audiences appreciated his humor and wit, but his style was sometimes markedly different from the casual, spontaneous vibe that Johnny Carson preferred. Behind the scenes, Tony Randall's serious demeanor and his strong opinions about performance reportedly caused subtle friction with Carson. While both respected each other's talent, Carson was known for his precise control over the pacing, tone, and rhythm of the show. Even the most charming and talented actors had to fit seamlessly into that flow. Randall's more formal and theatrical approach occasionally clashed with the fast-paced, conversational style Carson cultivated, leading to tension that may have influenced Carson's decision not to invite him back frequently. Despite this, Randall's appearances remain memorable for their elegance, intelligence, and polished humor. His story highlights an important aspect of late-night television: even great talent had to align with the host's vision and the dynamic of the show. Tony Randall's experience reminds viewers that Johnny Carson, though generous with his guests, maintained high standards and strict expectations. Even the most accomplished stars could find themselves on the rare list of guests Carson reportedly refused to welcome back. Orson Bean, the frequent guest. Tonight Show during Johnny Carson's tenure. Known for his witty humor, engaging stories, and easygoing personality, Bean was often a favorite with audiences and brought warmth and charm to every appearance. His blend of comedy and storytelling made him a reliable guest who could entertain without overwhelming the show. However, even someone as experienced and beloved as Orson Bean occasionally faced challenges fitting into the meticulous rhythm Carson demanded. Reports suggest that subtle disagreements and behind-the-scenes tensions over content, timing, or performance style led to fewer invitations later in his career. While Bean's interactions were professional and amicable, the dynamic between a host and a guest is delicate, and Johnny Carson maintained strict control to ensure The Tonight Show remained seamless, entertaining, and consistent. Ultimately, Orson Bean joined the small group of Golden Age guests who Johnny Carson reportedly refused to invite back. His story demonstrates that even seasoned, talented performers had to navigate the high expectations of late-night television's most iconic host. Orson Bean's appearances are still remembered for their humor, warmth, and charm, offering a glimpse of his brilliance, yet they also highlight the subtle pressures and exacting standards that defined the world of The Tonight Show. In Carson's universe, talent alone was never enough, compatibility with the host and the show's flow was equally crucial.